I'm Jay Horton. I make movies that make money, and this is Filmmakers On. Today, I'm talking to SHAKED'S Berenson. He's a producer behind some really cool independent films such as Turbo Kid and The Aggression Scale and a bunch more, and has started to move into the distribution space with his new company. So he's got a lot of cool things to say, both about the creative and the business parts of filmmaking. So let's do the interview thing. You've produced a lot of stuff. So generally speaking, what type of producer are you?
That's a good question. Um, well, there are very many types of producers. I think each project is very different. There are
Hmm.
projects that I'm just executive producer, so I deal with financing or getting the film distribution or some element, and some movies I'm basically co-directing, and they're on every frame, every decision, every pixel on the screen. So it's really everything in between.
And what do you prefer, or is there anything? Do you like doing taking on the different aspects of it?
I mean, obviously, it's much more fun to be on set and to do the creative side. But without doing the business side, there is no creative side. So it very much depends on the projects. It depends on the partners that we have. Like, for example, um, I have a partner in Canada that she makes the films with still from Canada and all those incentives they have there. And I'm just executive producer and don't even go to set. I'm just helping with the financing, the dailies maybe, but really allow her to do whatever she needs to do. So it also depends on the partners. If you work with somebody who's first or second time director, producer, then you need to be more hands-on.
Right, right. So what are you looking for, like, when you take on new projects?
I don't really look for new projects, and I think that's something that may be a bit confusing, but if writers and directors would realize that, it
Hmm.
will make their life easier because there is so many people just sending scripts or ideas or like here and I have this movie and I have this package, but very few actually ask what you're looking for. And I think if they would ask, we find out that the answer many times is, well, we're not really looking for anything because movies are kind of like children. Everybody wants to make their own.
Yep.
Some don't have the time or for whatever reason looking for other people's projects. But I feel that in general, people like their own ideas or they like to find the book, an article, or whatever it is, or come up with a concept and hire the writers to do that. So I think that as a writer, you would want to really find places that you can do jobs as a work for hire,
Hmm.
and as a director too, and sharpen your skills like that, as opposed to keep pushing your scripts and your ideas, which many times fall on deaf ears. I think that on the other hand, a lot of people in LA, like there is this disease of not saying no. So people are always happy to get something because just for the off chance that it's genius, right? Or that there is something there. So I think it creates a lot of waste of time for everyone, really. So that's a long way of saying the answer is that I'm not looking for projects. The project that usually I'm doing starts with the customer. So they start with my conversation, if it's a Shutter or a Pureflix or a TV station, foreign buyers, whatever it is,
Mm.
or that I see a need in the market because I have success in a specific genre, or I can see an opportunity, and then I work from there. So most of the projects that I've been involved with either were born from an idea internally or they come a lot more packaged. So if they come to me as a sales agent because they have already 75% of the financing and they're looking for the other 25, or they have elements that are pre-sellable or something like that. But in general, um, I'm not looking for just scripts,
Oh
and
yeah.
and in the end of the day, for for me to take on just a script or an idea, it's asking for a lot of work for me, and put a lot of resources for somebody else's baby. And I think, do you watch the show Shark Tank?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So you know how in Shark Tank they say like, listen, you want me to pay, but also I need to put more time, and you want me to give me 5%.
Right.
It's kind of like that. It's like, well, I need to find the money, I need to find the distribution, I need to attach a director, I need to get the cast. I need to do everything, but now I have somebody who's like, well, I don't want to change the title, and I really envision it like that. So it's sometimes much easier just to pay a writer and get the script you want and control it.
Right. And I honestly think that's something that filmmakers need to hear, because there's this, false narrative running out there where we think we're going to go to a producer with this script and they're just going to make it. And it's just not how it normally is.
Right. So when we do look for script for a specific reason, we do it in a very focused way. So I'll give you an example. Like if I'm looking for a specific type of horror film or something like that, I would go to directors that I've already worked with, or writer that I already worked with, and I said, "This is what I'm looking for. Do you have anything, or do you want to develop anything in that space?" When I do look for projects, it's usually for something very specific and very focused. And usually I approach people I've worked with in the past, so I know that they have specific skill set or experience, right? So it's not like I just need somebody from Twitter to send me a horror movie, but if I work on a horror comedy for Shudder and I'm talking to them about some concept, then I'm going to call my buddy Mike Mendes, which I made Biggest Spider and Tales of Halloween and other movies with. And I know that he's a master craftsman in that space, and like, why would I just take a gamble on some unknown, or worse, now I need to read 100 scripts just to find the right one that fit that bill.
How would you you've been in the business for a while now. How would you describe the current state of independent film as opposed to when you started?
It's interesting because when I started, it was all also in transition, right? So I remember when people talked about YouTube, and YouTube is going to destroy the movie business, and it was like this exciting thing. And I remember when we hit the Great Recession, or whatever you want to call it, in 2007, and the DVD market completely collapsed. And of course, the growth of Netflix. So it seems like there is every 10 years or so something that people think like, well, this is going to destroy, or this. But in the end of the day, it's always an evolving business, and like technology, it's changing in an increasing way. So it's a matter of being adaptable and flexible, and seeing where you can bring value. So the situation right now is very different as when I started the business about less than 20 years ago. But the idea that there is audience that consume content, and there is need for content, and there is a supply chain to get from dollars invested to pixels on a screen, or if it's a film in a theater, that haven't changed, right? Mm-hmm. So it's just the play within it. So the situation right now, what the conversation is definitely around the pandemic that's accelerated the move from SVOD to AVOD. It's still platforms that require content. We still need to have people to make content. It creates a situation now where we have more streamers that they need more content. On the other hand, everybody's putting a mood around their own libraries or buying different libraries, like Amazon buying MGM. So it's just a matter of knowing how to navigate it. So the good thing is that for me, if I have a rom-com that is target audience, female, Generation Z, there is a lot of places I can go to right now. I can go to, I can still go to Hallmark. I can go to Netflix. I can go to Hulu. I can go to Amazon. I can, if it's raunchy enough or edgy enough, I can go to HBO. I can go to Freeform. Now, yes, both Hulu and Disney and Freeform all the same thing, but at least you have these options, right? So you have more buyers that can buy on that level.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's obviously also means that it's more of an insider game, but it's always been an insider game. You know, it's been an insider game since the days of the five networks. It's been, you know, it's always in the studios, it's always been a situation like this. And I think that in our business, because there is not a lot of barriers to entry to say that you're in a business, there's maybe barriers to entry to direct Avengers, but there's not barriers of entry to say that you're a you know, YouTube channel or
Yep.
a filmmaker, a writer, a director. There is a lot of people that um, maybe don't understand or lack the view of this as an industry. But in the end of the day, if you want to be in insurance, you have a lot more barriers to entry too. You know, if you want to be in banking, if you want to be in really anything, it's not like you can just decide today that you're a coal miner and you know you want to open your own mine. Like maybe you can go and apply for a job, but you know what, you can go apply for a job as a PA too. You know, the only difference is that people in our business complain that they cannot apply for a job as a CEO. Now we cannot apply, cannot finish getting your MBA and just think that you're going to be the CEO of Bank of America the next day. But for some reason, we do think like that in the movie business. We're like, well, I went to AFI, so now I need to direct a $10 million movie. It's like, it doesn't really work like that in any other industry. So why does it need to be working like that necessarily in the movie industry? And again, I think that when people are going to have people that look at it as a career and looking 20 years down the road and not just like, here is the script that I want to make and just looking, you know, 2 weeks ahead, they can actually come up with a plan and come up with the steps that they need to get there and build a network and build a resume, build their experience, build their skill set to get to where they want to be in 5, 10, 15, 20 years, as opposed to, I had an idea for a zombie movie and I'm just going to beat the doors again and again and again just for that script.
Let's take it back a little bit. How did you get started producing movies? Was that what you wanted to do? Did you want to direct or write and moved into producing, or was it always like a producing track?
Not at all. Not at all. I actually moved to LA to go to UCLA. So I studied economics, didn't come here to be anything in the movie business. I did have interest in movies. And as a kid in high school, I did the thing, the home videos as everybody else, you know, taking the DV cam. And I remember editing on a VHS with my neighbor's VCR, just
Yep.
putting two of them with the AV cord and basically, you know, playing and recording and just trying to come up with all those different ways of doing things. But it was always a hobby. It was never thought about it as a career path. And then I was looking for a job as a bartender because I moved to a new city and it's a great job for nights and weekends. So I can study during the day and you can meet people locally and all of that. And for the life of me, I could not get a job as a bartender. So I started to work as a personal assistant to this film producer and really quickly kind of learned the rope and was his right-hand man. So I got into a lot of the sides of it, from the financing side to making the films, selling them, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, and once I graduated my bachelor, I took the VP of production from that company and started my own company where we did foreign sales and production, and then moved into domestic distribution. Then I acquired Dread Central in 2016, merged them, and then sold that in 2018, I'm going to say, while I was getting my MBA from UCLA as well. So my entry point was really the business side. I do have passion for creation. I paint, play the guitar, all that kind of stuff. But I didn't move to LA to be in the business. And I think that probably gave me a different point of view and maybe an advantage over people that pick up the stuff and move from whatever country or state or city they're in and move to LA, go to acting school or whatever it is, or go to writing school and have that one thing in mind to do.
Right. So you're a PGA. Do you find have you found it to be a helpful organization? And when somebody gets in, what, because I was in the PGA for many years, and I found a lot of other members just didn't take advantage of it. You know, they get in, take their screeners, and not do anything. But do you find it to be
Yeah.
useful? How do you stay involved and get value out of it?
It's I don't get a lot of value from the PGA, to be honest.
Mm,
I got a lot more value. I've been a board member at the IFTA, the Independent Film and Television Alliance, for many years. I've been on the legal committee and expert committee. Got a lot of value there. For viewers that don't know, the IFTA, that's the organization that's run the American film market in Santa Monica, and also publish all the standard agreements and forms for film distribution. It's not a union; it's an association, which means it's basically a combination of competitors in the licensing and sales side. So where the PGA is for individuals, the IFTA is for companies.
mm,
As of the PGA, I think they have a lot more work to do in terms of inclusiveness. And I'm not talking about inclusiveness in terms of like minorities or something that's like literal inclusiveness of their members. I have been in touch and try to get more involved, and there is a lot of walls trying to get involved. So I'm on a few committees. I'm on the PJ Mark committee, but it's just tough to get information about how to get involved. I think that organizations like the IFTA that basically send email invitations and tell you like, hey, if you want to join the meeting, you can come as a guest. It's like they don't do that. You usually hear about things after they happen, but
yep.
like anything else, it's no organization is perfect, and I believe that you vote with your dollars, you vote with your feet, and you can make change from the inside or by not being there, right?
Right. Yeah, definitely.
So you end
And
up renewing your PGA membership.
I'm sorry.
You end up canceling your PGA membership.
It just lapsed this year. Yeah. I moved from LA to Atlanta, and what value I was getting out of it was, from being there and networking, going to events. I met a lot of people that I've worked with through the PGA. But once I moved to Atlanta and it was right in the middle of Corona, I was kind of like, meh. And so yeah, it just lapsed like a few months back.
And I think that organizations like that live by membership fees, they have an inherent issue that they want to increase their membership.
Yeah.
And the more that you try to serve more people, just increase your membership, you end up not really serving anyone.
Right.
Right. So I think what you probably also find that when you go to PGA events, you meet with a lot of people on PGA, but there's such a diverse, like you meet somebody, you talk to them like, are we even in the same industry? Like, I have no idea what you do. Like, it's like our
Yeah.
lives are just so different because what's a producer is or the type of, associate producers or production manager, like things.
What do you think are what are the biggest challenges for an independent producer these days?
Well, the independent producer in the world, the world right now of streaming is basically the world of TV, right? So we need to look at what TV was or is, and the way that content has been made in television. And it's really squeezed out what we like to call the entrepreneur producer, right? So the entrepreneur producer is the producer that find a writer or an article, get a writer, pay a few thousand to get a script written, then find a director, find a little money, kind of put the whole thing together and then make the film, then go to a festival, get an agent to help him sell it, and then get a $1 million deal from whatever. and in the process, do a lot of work, but maybe double their money or more, right? If you have a breakup. Um, the life of that person is kind of down. That's how I made most of the movies when you look at my resume. And right now, it just doesn't make any sense. And the reason is because you do have a few buyers you can sell to, and it's gotten better in the past 2 years. But we still talk about a handful of buyers, right? So we all know who they are. It's the Netflix, the Hulu, the HBO. It used to be when I started the business that you sold internationally every country, right? So it wasn't a matter of which territory were sold, it's a matter of price, right? So we sold Portugal, we sold, believe it or not, we had deals in Iceland, we had deals in Spain, we had deals in really everywhere in the map, right? So you can make a film and then just sell them piece by piece. And every territory had maybe 5 to 10 big buyers, right? Those are the ones that would buy the big independent movies or maybe have some output deals with the studio. Then you would have maybe 20 of mid-size home video, DVD kind of buyers. Then you'll have 20 or 30 bottom feeders that just kind of buy crap, right? But you have that in every territory, right? Now Netflix buys the world or zero, right? You have nothing, right? So if you really took the risk and spent 2 3 years of your life and somehow got together $5 million and your movie doesn't get into Sundance, doesn't get into South by, doesn't has the right cast, doesn't get that Netflix sale, doesn't get that Shutter sale, you can end up with nothing, right?
Yeah.
It's not a sliding scale. It's a zero-sum game, right? Netflix, you've recouped. Not Netflix, you bankrupt, right? So the job of the entrepreneur producer is kind of done. With that said, there's a lot more content being created, right? So the job of the line producer, production manager, or physical producer, whatever you want to call it, the person that basically take the script, take the money, break it down, hire the head of departments and all of that, and using somebody else's money. There's more jobs like that than ever, right? But those jobs are jobs, right? So you make a producer fee, right? Maybe you get some points, but there is really no points because the movie just goes on streaming. I have a friend who's a physical producer, he has a big production company with trucks and all that. There, he cannot even get on the phone. Like he's, between he shoots stuff for Netflix, for ABC Family, for he just constantly working, and it's pretty incredible. He has a few Emmys, a few Golden Globes, but he doesn't make his own projects. He always looks at me and he's like, oh, I want to do what you do. You just come up with something. It's like, dude, like I rather work for Disney like you do, right? But those people have a lot of jobs. So it's just, there's always kind of a trade-off of there is winners and losers in every, I guess, innovation or change in the business model. But in the business model where Netflix, like a TV station, and sorry to go back to Netflix, just they probably spend the most amount on content at the moment, and hire the most people. But in a world that they basically give you a fee to make the movie, it becomes a job, right? And we work in creative business that people don't. Most people, I want to believe, didn't leave wherever they were and came to Hollywood to risk everything just to get a paycheck. But also, when you get to a certain age, you have a house, you have rent, you have kids. There is something nice about having the stability, right? And I think that what we see with shift of power with the unions lately and those negotiations, all of that kind of stem from that place that more and more people in this industry treat it like a regular industry, right? Like a car industry, that people get paid for their work and their work for hire.
Do you think that with the proliferation of streaming media and there's so many different avenues to release now, and in regards to distribution, and I know it totally depends film to film, but generally speaking, for a independent movie, $1 million or under, what's the typical distribution strategy these days that would work?
I can tell you what I think most filmmakers are suckered into the old distribution model, right?
Yes.
But they think they're going to make it. Then we're going to submit it to festivals. Then once we get it to festivals, one of the six big agencies, are going to take my movie as an agent. They're going to sit there in the premiere and then sell it to the distributor and the sales agent. Then the sales agent going to sell it, to the foreign distributors. That's the model most people go to. I've been preaching against that model for 10 years now, and nobody's listening to me, and
Yeah.
there is something, again, speaking about being a work for hire versus an entrepreneur, there is something very there is a dream sold there. They're like, no, we're gonna get to Sundance and we're gonna have an agent in a suit like we saw on television standing outside and get us a $10 million deal. When you think about how every other business is made, it's not made like that. It's made with customer and going backwards to make a product. Like, what are the needs or what problem are solving, right?
Yeah.
So I always say, like, if you make a movie, have the people that are going to be in touch with your customer, which is your distributor, with your sales agent and or distributor, be on board early so they can shepherd you through the process. They can help you with the relationships to get into those festivals and build that awareness. And also, that linear thinking is obviously stupid when you think about it, because when you movie getting to Sundance, that's the biggest thing that movie is going to make, probably, right? Unless it's also going to win an Oscar the next year. That's the biggest thing that's going to happen. So that's when you're going to have your interviews with the cast, with the director. Everybody's going to be there. You're probably spending $25,000 on PR people and flights and hotels and drinks and all that kind of stuff. That's when you want to promote the movie to the audience, right? Like, why are you using that opportunity to sell to the guy who's going to sell to the guy who's going to sell to the guy that's going to put it on an aggregator that going to come out in August, and you're going to be 7 layers of people that don't know anything about your movie and don't care, right? And also taking a fee, right? They're all taking the percentage. You probably want to be in Sundance saying, hey, we're very excited to be here, and use that moment in the limelight to say the movie's coming out in March, look for it only on Amazon, or find, you want to send people there. And I always tell people, like, have a plan, because it's always easy to change the plan to make a bigger release than to change it to make a smaller release, right? So there's nothing wrong with saying, like, listen, we planned a limited release and a VOD thing in February, but then Netflix came and paid us $50 million and now they want to do it. Like, great, it's a great announcement, right? Like, nobody's going to say, but the problem is that what most films end up with trailers, posters, and all that publicity coming out with coming soon. To me, that's the saddest thing. You need to think about the battle you go to win awareness and to sell your movie. And basically to have posters and trailers that just say coming soon on them, it's just like taking ammunition and just shooting it into the air without having any target, right?
Yep.
So you want to keep all of those things, your poster, your trailer, your clip, like all of those, you want to keep them for when you can sell the movie and when people can pre-order it or book their tickets to the cinema, whatever you want to send them to do. That's when you want to put those things out. But the problem is that people are so charmed by the festivals and like, oh, we want to put the trailer on our website and we're going to send it to all of our people. It's like, great. So you go to a festival, there's 200 people in that room, 10 of them are going to tell somebody else, and that's going to be where it's going to end,
Right.
But you want to keep your ammunition to the real battle, which is your release.
If you had it to do like all over again, would you attack your career differently?
I don't know. I think that there is 2 paths to go through. There is a studio path and the indie path. I've always been in the indies. I sold to studios. I sold to Netflix a lot. I sold movies to Universal, to Stars, to networks, but I always had to make them myself first and or package them and then go there. Then there is people that live in the studio world, right? And usually it's very separated worlds. So if you want to be in the studio world, you kind of need to start as an intern and build your entire career there. So I don't know if I've done anything different, but I wonder if I had the opportunity at the beginning to just choose a path, which, it's I never had that blue pill, red pill situation, but
Right.
for the people that do have it, maybe it's better to go into the studio world, because you can go from studio to indie at any time. You cannot go from the indie to the studio unless something happens. And when I say unless something happens, I'm talking about like what, like a handful of people, right? I'm talking
Right.
about Warren Pelly with Paranormal Activity, right? Or I'm talking about like people that it's not
Yeah, like the lottery winners.
it's not 1 of 10,
Yeah, yeah.
it's 1 of 100.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Or more.
So,
Yeah.
so again, you've had a long career. What are some of the highlights of it? Like I know, for example, you're wearing the Turbo Kid shirt, and I love that movie.
Just
What
promoting,
what
promoting
was it
our
like working on that?
Turbo Kid was a hoot. Again, I think it's a strange movie. It's a genre bending movie. It's a perfect example of how, we started in Sundance, we released a 10 seconds teaser, we didn't let materials out, and we kind of built it with the festivals to do get that fan base by the time we did release it the following year. Um, that was a good year. I think in that Sundance, I had two movies. I had that one, and I had a film called Entertainment with John C. Reilly and Michael Cera.
Hmm.
Um, I think like listen, it's our business is very much a roller coaster. So there is very high highs with festivals and premieres and fun things, and very low lows when you're in productions and things happen that shouldn't. I mean, obviously there is tragic things, as big as what happened to Set of Rust, but there is also small things like it's raining on a day that it shouldn't, and it's not raining on a day that it should, and when you spend enough on set, you're going to have all of those. You're going to have the dealing with personalities and clashes between directors and DPs or whatnot, or actors or whatever it is. And I think that you need to have thick skin, and you need to know, you need to have enough emotional stability and a safety net to smooth out those highs and lows, so you actually live a normal life, as opposed to being here and here all the time.
Keep making movies.